Wishes to all. My topic is fixed versus flexible exchange rate. First, we want to know what is exchange rate. The term exchange rate refers to the rate at which the currency of a country gets converted into another country's currency. Mainly, there are two most commonly used types of exchange rate, that are fixed exchange rate and flexible exchange rate. First, we discuss about fixed exchange rate. Fixed exchange rate refers to the nominal exchange system, wherein the government and other monetary authorities like the central bank try to keep the rate of state currencies fixed against the rate or value of other currencies. This means that the fixed exchange rate is only set by the government and other component authorities, and it can never be determined by market forces. Under this system, the IMF, International Monetary Fund, management allows the flexibility of exchange rate to a country, but up to a certain level. Moreover, a fixed exchange rate regime helps to provide a credible point for low inflationary monetary policy by reducing the transaction cost due to exchange rate uncertainty. Another term that can be used for a fixed exchange rate is pegged exchange rate. Next, we discuss about what is flexible exchange rate. A flexible exchange rate is another monetary system wherein the exchange rate is set according to the supply and demand of money in the market. In such an exchange system, the currency's exchange rate depends on the supply and demand forces. It can also be known as floating exchange rate. Under this system, the country's economic condition regulates and determines the market supply and demand for its currency. It is determined concerning other currencies, which means the higher demand for a specific currency, the higher will be its exchange rate, and vice versa. So, therefore, the government and other monetary authorities have no control over the floating exchange rate. Next, we speak about the key difference between fixed and flexible exchange rate. First one is, fixed exchange rate refers to the nominal exchange system, wherein the government and other monetary authorities like the central bank try to keep the rate of state currency fixed against the rate of value of other currencies. On the other hand, a flexible exchange rate is another monetary system wherein the exchange rate is set according to the supply and demand of money in the market. Second one is, while the fixed exchange rate is decided by the government and central bank of a country, the flexible exchange rate depends on demand and supply forces in the market. Third difference is, in a fixed exchange rate system, in the par value of the currency reduces, it is termed as devaluation. And if it rises, then it is known as revaluation. On the other hand, in a flexible exchange rate regime, the decrease in the currency value is termed as depreciation and the increase as appreciation. Fourth one is, a fixed exchange rate may cause a deficit in the balance of payment that cannot be modified. On the contrary, in the case of a flexible exchange rate system, a deficit in the balance of payment can be automatically adjusted. Second last one is, fixed exchange rate is actually the rate that is formally fixed regarding gold or some currency through the government. If the supply and demand of foreign currency changes, the fixed exchange rate does not change. Flexible exchange rate is actually the rate which is formally not fixed regarding any currency or gold as it changes when demand and supply related to foreign currency changes. And last one is, in fixed exchange rate, speculation is mostly done at the time when there are chance of changes in government policies. In flexible exchange rate, speculation is a very normal process and done at most of the time. Next, we will discuss about merits and demerits. First, we will look onto the flexible exchange rate. It has the following merits. First one is, problem of undervaluation and overvaluation are avoided. The advocates of flexible exchange rates contend that the problems of undervaluation and overvaluation of currencies, which are founded in the fixed exchange rate system, are avoided. Whenever there is deficit in balance of payments, implying overvaluation of the national currency under the flexible exchange rates, it will depreciate. That is, its value will fall, which on the one hand will make exports cheaper and thereby encourage them, and on the other will make the imports costlier than before, which will tend to discourage them. Thus, increase in exports and decline in imports as a result of depreciation will lead to the automatic correction in the balance of payments. On the other hand, whenever there is surplus in the balance of payments, the exchange rate will appreciate, which will tend to reduce exports and raise imports. This again will tend to automatically restore the balance of payments equilibrium. This is how the flexible exchange rate system works to ensure the equilibrium in the balance of payments. Second one is promotes growth of multilateral trade. The advocates of flexible exchange rate system are strongly of the view that as unlike fixed exchange rate system, this does not create serious and difficult problems. It will ensure rapid growth of multilateral world trade. Further, they point out that promotion of world trade under the flexible exchange rates would not interfere in any way the adoption of policies to achieve domestic economic stability. Third merit is flexible exchange rate does not necessarily show large fluctuations. It has been pointed out in defense of the flexible exchange rates that the problems of undervalued or overvalued currency found under the fixed exchange rate regime are not found in the flexible exchange rate system. Further, it is contended that exchange rates being flexible does not necessarily mean there will be large fluctuations in them. Even under flexible exchange rate system, there need not to be large fluctuation in exchange rates. According to them, changes in exchange rates will occur only when economic conditions underlying demand for and supply of foreign currencies change. Further, according to them, random fluctuations around the normal exchange rates would be smoothed out through operations by private speculators. Fourth merit is it ensures individual freedom. The system of floating exchange rate is advocated on the basis of philosophy that government should intervene in the economy as little as possible and the individuals should be left free to pursue their economic interests. It has been noted above the alternative to floating exchange rate system is the fixed exchange rates which require controls and restrictions, which are implemented by experts who generally do not work under effective democratic controls. Generally, they fix the exchange rate out of consideration for other than economic objectives. For example, for the purpose of retaining a certain market structure or influencing income distribution. The last merit is it frees the government from problems of balance of payments. A great merit of flexible exchange rates is that it frees the government from problems of balance of payments. As has been seen above, the fixed exchange rate system leads either to deficit or surplus in balance of payments. Under this system, the government remains preoccupied with the questions of devaluation or revaluation of their currencies. Since floating exchange rates works automatically to restore the balance of payments equilibrium, the government need not to pay any attention to the balance of payments. Instead, the governments can concentrate on solving the domestic problems of economic stability, inflation and unemployment. Next is demerits of flexible exchange rate system. Flexible exchange rate system is also not without shortcomings. It has been opposed on some important grounds. First one is flexible exchange rates creates a situation of instability and uncertainty. An important argument against flexible exchange rates is that too frequent fluctuations in exchange rates under it creates uncertainty about the exact amount of receipts and payments in foreign exchange transactions. This instability hampers foreign trade and capital movements between the countries. However, Friedman does not accept this charge against flexible exchange rates. He argues that flexible exchange rate is not necessarily an unstable exchange rate. According to him, it is the underlying economic conditions determining foreign trade that often change, causing changes in the foreign exchange rate, and for this, the flexible exchange rates should not be blamed. Second demerit is dampening effect on foreign trade. Under the flexible exchange rates, the price of foreign exchange or international value of the national currency is quite uncertain. As a result, they are unable to take proper decision regarding exports and imports of goods. Obviously, this has a dampening effect on the volume and growth of foreign trade. However, Friedman does not agree with this and points out that traders can always protect themselves against risks arising out of the changes in the exchange rate by hedging in the future market. However, it has challenged this view of Friedman and points out that no market exists today that can protect traders against risk arising out of the flexible exchange rates. It may, however, be noted that from the empirical evidence since 1971, when exchange rates have been flexible, it does not appear that flexible exchange rates have a dampening effect on the growth of foreign trade. In fact, the growth of world trade since 1971 has been fairly good. Third one is widespread speculation with a destabilizing effect. The system of flexible exchange rates has been opposed on the ground that under it, there is widespread speculation regarding exchange rates of currencies, which has a large destabilizing effect on these rates. Friedman, on the other hand, contend that speculation has stabilizing influence on exchange rates. However, whether or not speculation has been destabilizing or stabilizing effect is a highly controversial issue in economics which has so far remained unresolved. Fourth one is provides an inflationary bias to an economy. Another shortcoming of the flexible exchange rates is that they have an inflationary impact on the economy. It has been pointed out that whenever, due to deficit in balance of payments, the currency depreciates, the price of imports go up. The higher price of imported materials raise the price of industrial products and thus generate cost push inflation. However, in defense of flexible exchange rates, it has been pointed out that when demand for imports decline due to appreciation of national currency, the foreign suppliers are compelled to reduce their price to protect markets. Through this reduction in prices in the face of declining demand is theoretically possible. It may not happen in actual price. To sum up, there are merits and demerits of flexible exchange rate system. Next is merits and demerits of fixed exchange rate. Merits of fixed exchange rate system. Exchange rate stability is the first merit of fixed exchange rate system. In defense of fixed exchange rate system, it has been pointed out that it ensures stability in exchange rate. Exchange rate stability, it is said, it is necessary for orderly development of the international economy and rapid growth of world trade. If the exchange rate is unstable or variable, the exporters will not be certain about the price they would receive for the goods to be exported by them. The importers will not be certain about the price and payments they have to make for their imports. This uncertainty involves risk for exporters and importers. This greatly harms the growth of world trade. Thus, the chief merit of fixed exchange rate system is that it eliminates the possibilities of such uncertainties and associated risks, and thereby promotes foreign trade. It is important to note that for the developing countries, a stable or fixed exchange rate system has a special advantage. This is because the developing countries have a large and persistent balance of payment deficit. As a consequence, if the exchange rate is flexible and not fixed, due to these large persistent deficits, the exchange rate or international value of their currency will be continuously falling. Thus, fixed exchange rate system prevents this continuous tendency for the depreciation of their currency. Second one is promotes capital movements. Another advantage of fixed exchange rate is that it facilitates capital movement by private firms. A stable currency does not involve any uncertainty about capital loss on account of changes in exchange rates. Therefore, fixed exchange rate system would attract foreign capital investment. Foreign private firms would not be interested in making investment in those countries whose currency is not stable. Since foreign investment is an important source of economic growth, the fixed exchange rate system would promote rapid economic growth of the developing countries. Third one is prevents capital outflow. Further, flexible and unstable exchange rates may at times of difficult economic situation may encourage flight of capital, as happened in case of Mexico a few years ago, causing a serious balance of payments problem. On the other hand, a stable exchange rate ensured that such capital outflow would not occur. Its fourth merit is prevents speculation in foreign exchange market. Another important merit of fixed exchange rate system is that it does away with speculation in foreign exchange markets. The advocates of fixed exchange rate system points out that the flexible and unstable exchange rate encourages speculations in foreign exchange market. The operators in foreign exchange market try to take advantage of fluctuation in exchange rate as freely determined by demand and supply forces. They try to manipulate the exchange rate through their actions of buying and selling foreign exchange rate and try to obtain speculative gain in this way. Ragnar Nurkis, in his study of international currency experience, which he conducted for the period of 20s, found that because of speculative activities, flexible exchange rate had a destabilizing influence. It caused greater fluctuations than would have been the case otherwise. By eliminating speculation's fixed exchange rate system ensures stability in the exchange rate. Fifth one is serves as an anchor against inflation. Another important advantage of fixed exchange rate system is that it prevents the government of the countries from adopting inflationary policies. Generally, governments have often been tempted to pursue undue expansionary fiscal and monetary policies to lower unemployment and create boom conditions. However, inflation has several bad effects for the economies. It increases inequality of income and wealth and hurts the poor most. Further, inflation hampers economic growth in the long run. Fixed exchange rate system forces the government to achieve price stability by taking effective anti-inflationary measures. This is because in the case of fixed exchange rate, inflation will cause balance of payments deficit and result in loss of international reserves. Therefore, this forces the government to adopt measures to check inflationary pressures in the economy. Sixth one is promotes economic integration of the world. It has also been argued in favor of fixed exchange rate system that it is necessary for achieving economic integration of the world community. This is similar to a single common currency in a country, which promotes economic integration of a nation in the sense that it facilitates communication, trade, and free movement of finance between different regions of a country. It ensures free competition among all producers and consumers of various countries. Similarly, a common currency would promote economic integration of the world. Fixed exchange rate between the currency of the various countries approximately serves the purpose of a single currency between different countries. Thus, fixed exchange rate among different currency is a necessary condition for the purpose of forming economic union between various countries. That is, forming a regional grouping to enjoy the advantages of economic unity in recent years. There is a proposal for issuing a single currency for European countries to strengthen the economic integration of European countries. The last merit is promotes growth of internal money and capital markets. Another big advantage of the fixed exchange rate system is that it promotes growth of internal money and capital markets. Since flexible exchange rates cause uncertainty about the future exchange rates, individuals, companies and institutions are reluctant to lend to and borrow from the internal money and capital markets. In the view of the above advantages, a fixed exchange rate system prevailed for a long time from 1944 to 1971. As we have seen above that the Bretton Woods Agreement adopted a fixed exchange rate system because of the above mentioned merits. IMF permitted a change in the exchange rate only in case of fundamental disequilibrium in the balance of payments. Next is demerits. There are a few disadvantages to using a fixed exchange rate. One disadvantage is that it can lead to artificially high inflation rates over time. Another disadvantage is that it can make it difficult for countries to adjust their currency values when their exports or imports become more expensive or cheaper than expected. Other drawbacks are as follows. Might hinder macroeconomic objectives. The fixed exchange rate system has been criticized for conflicts with other macroeconomic objectives, such as achieving sustainable economic growth. Under a fixed exchange rate system, the government sets a single currency value for all countries, which means that its value is not determined by market forces. This can lead to fluctuations in the currency's value and make it difficult for business to get loans in foreign currencies. Additionally, it can be risky for the countries that have a high dependency on exports because their currency may become too weak against other currencies. Second one is less flexibility. One of the disadvantages of a fixed exchange rate system is that it limits the country's flexibility. For example, if the country's currency is weak, it will have to devalue its currency in order to boost exports. This can lead to higher inflation and reduced economic growth. Another disadvantage is that it can create trade deficits. This means that the country imports more than exports, which can lead to financial problems. Third one is require high interest rates. Fixed exchange rate requires high interest rates to keep the currency stable. This makes it difficult for business to borrow money in foreign currencies and export their goods. It also makes it more expensive for people to purchase foreign trade or foreign goods. And the last demerit is difficulty in keeping the value of the currency. One of the disadvantages of a fixed exchange rate is that it can be difficult to keep the value of the currency stable. This can be especially problematic when there is a large deficit or an excess of currency in one country. When this happens, the value of the currency will decline, making imports more expensive and exports cheaper. We can finally conclude that both fixed and flexible exchange rates have their own positive and negative aspects. It is kind of an indecisive debate for today's economists to reach a specific conclusion for these terms. On the same note, many theoreticians are in favor of a flexible exchange rate as they rely on the free market system and the price mechanism. On the other hand, policymakers and central banks favor the fixed exchange rate system. Thank you. Hope you all understand.